this is mostly focused on the consciousness. The Indian, can people hear me, or you can
Yes.
hear? Okay. Yeah. So this will just show some selected views of Indian consciousness analysis. So the study to understand consciousness can be traced back to Vedic era. Some scholars date the beginning of that era to 2000 BC. Around 700 to 500 BC, the study of consciousness became deeper. This presentation will mostly focus on selected Upanishads of that period. And that would be a small glimpse. It's not that it's going to cover the whole Upanishads or complete view of it. It's just very small portion as I understand. The other thing I want to point it out, the timing I'm mentioning here is just a rough estimate. Accurate dates for any ancient Indian scriptures are not easy, or I can say it's impossible. So I'm trying to say that it's very, very, very old. So that's it. So there were many different understandings of consciousness. So I'm going to summarize some of them. So one of the groups are philosophy called Charvak philosophy. So they believe that consciousness is born out of material, this body, and there is nothing beyond that. That's it. Another philosophy, which is called Jain philosophy, they say consciousness can't exist without soul. Not only human, but also animals, plants, and natural elements have consciousness, different level of consciousness, but they all have it. The other one, Advaita Vedanta, believe that there is only pure consciousness. We are part of the same big consciousness, just like they give example, like ocean, and there are little waves in there, so we are those little waves, but it's all whole pure consciousness. The Bhakti philosophy believes that God is everything and consciousness is given by God. And then Gautam Buddha recommends that instead of debating about consciousness, one should work towards understanding and purifying the mind. That was his focus. So I'm going back to the Upanishad because I have information only mostly on the Upanishad. So there are general views I wanted to summarize here, and then I'll go in selected 3 or 4 Upanishads. Very quick, it's not long. So in general, there is a belief that there are many levels of consciousness, but for the ease of understanding, they can be categorized as individual consciousness and a pure consciousness. Pure consciousness cannot be described in words. Pure consciousness is addressed as Atman, Purush, God, Brahman, and Sakshi. Sakshi is witness, and Brahman is not the caste Brahmin. It's a pure consciousness, other name for that. Pure consciousness is hidden behind ignorance. And ignorance also has many different names and definitions, but I will use Maya here because Vivek uses that a lot. So tangled in Maya, one does not see any connection with the pure consciousness. That is the cause of misery, according to all the Upanishads. And uncovering or merging with that pure consciousness is the goal of human life, and that takes care of all problems. So the first Upanishad I will talk about is Maandukya Upanishad. They talk about 3 different states of consciousness. That is awake, dream, and deep sleep. And maybe the next one will explain better. Vivek is not moving. Kachik?
Just do the space bar.
Oh, okay. Okay, so the first one is called Jagrat, is awake state. So they define it as consciousness when consciousness is outwardly and experiencing external objects. And they say there are 19 mouths this state has, and that is 10 senses, 5 pranas, and 4 mind. Prana is represented as breath, but that's not the only thing. Prana is much more than that. It's a whole life source and whatever is happening internally. So they have all that category there. And in dream state, which is swapna state, is consciousness becomes inwardly and it experiences the mental impressions of that awakened state. In deep sleep, which is sushupti, consciousness is without any object, desire, or dream. All activities of mind, intellect, and even sense of I stops. It's a resting state, but everything remains in a seed form. So as soon as we wake up, everything is same. We awake and dream and deep sleep. We keep getting there, and nobody goes. I shouldn't say nobody, but majority of the people don't go beyond that. But that is Turiya state they recommend is the pure consciousness, which is beyond these three states. That is not outwardly, not inwardly, and not deep sleep. And since I said in the beginning, they all agree that you cannot define it, so they don't have any definition of it. The only thing they define is it's not that, it's not that, it's not that. The next Upanishad is called Tattariya Upanishad. They analyze consciousness through 5 different layers. They begin with this outer shell, what we are looking at it, and then they find that that's not satisfactory. They go deeper and deeper and deeper. It will explain in the next one. So the first layer, the one we are seeing, is called Annamaya Kosh, which is translated as food sheath. So they say that physical body is born out of food and sustained by food, but then once they meditate, once they look at it carefully, they find it's changing from birth to death. There are many, many changes and in many others. So they meditate more and they find there is pranamaya sheath, which is a life force sheath. And then same way they recognize that this is changing also. Sometimes there is more energy, sometimes there is less energy, sometimes our breath is different. So that's not it. So they analyze more and they find the manomaya kosh, which is a mental sheath. And then they recognize there are thousands of thoughts, memories, emotions, and desires, and they are changing every second. So that can't be the pure consciousness. So the next one is Vijnanamaya Kosh, which is intellect sheath, that understands, discriminates, and determines, but then that also changes with the age, with the education, and many other things, sickness and all that. So they think that that's not it. So the last one they reach is Anandamaya Kosh, which is Sushupti, or deep sleep state, where everything is in resting state. And as a result, when we are awake, then we feel happy, rested, and relaxed. That's the translation of Anand, then we are happy. But that is also not the pure consciousness. Pure consciousness, they conclude that pure consciousness is present in all these sheets, but it's beyond all sheets. That does not change, and that knows all the changes, and that's throughout our life, even beyond. The next one is Mandook Upanishad. They use examples of 2 identical birds sitting on a tree. One of them is a witness consciousness, and then the other one is an individual consciousness. Individual bird, consciousness bird, is jumping on each little branch, and then she or he is eating different fruits. Sometimes it's rotten, sometimes it's very sweet. So that bird goes through different emotions, happy, sad, irritated. And while she's doing all that, the other bird, the witness, is watching and not getting affected by any of those things. Then eventually, at some point, this individual bird recognizes, I'm the same bird, and then they merge, and that's where they become enlightened. So that's one of those examples of this this Katha Upanishad is also very similar to the previous one, but they are using a different examples of chariots. So there are very strong horses pulling us in different. This image is not correct, I feel, because I think it's not always our senses are in this control the way it's showing. They're all running around in many different directions and it's hard to control them. But the main message is that the individual in consciousness is trying to control and working hard on it, sometimes succeeds, sometimes fails, while the witness consciousness is sitting back, relaxing and watching what is happening. And then the same message comes here, that once this individual one recognizes and then they work for it and then they merge with the witness consciousness and then they become pure consciousness. So now the main topic, Vivek wanted to know the subconscious, about subconscious. So how do you change and affect your subconscious? So there may be many different ways to define the subconscious, but the one needs to change is created by Maya or ignorance, according to Indian philosophy, and unresolved desires and traumas, and constantly thinking about them makes them stronger and deeper. So Indian scriptures recommend many methods to address that, but today I will share Gita's approach. They have Jnana, Bhakti and Karma, 3 paths. So the Jnana is path of understanding. When one truly understands any philosophy, I'm taking example of Upanishads because that's what I've gone through here, but there are many different philosophies. So when they understand that, then that there is a pure consciousness beyond this visible body and mind, 5 shades or 3 states, it's all beyond that. And if they can focus the attention on that, then any desire or trauma becomes less significant and does not move to subconscious. They don't create the subconscious. Then for the other path is Bhakti, path of devotion. Here the focus is on God instead of trauma or desire. So same thing, like I think Vivek also talked about the neural path and all that. So when the focus is different, then subconscious either is not created or dissolved slowly. So when one surrenders and sees that everything is given by God, then any trauma becomes a gift of God, and then I think it's not that deeper. Then the last one is the path of action, karma. And then the emphasis is here, everybody does karma, action, but it should be without expectation. The focus here is on the action instead of trauma and desires. One practices to act without expectation, and the sorrow of the subconscious is from the expectation mostly. So another way of also looking at this karma path is unpleasant events are a result of my own past actions or karma. So then you get some kind of explanation why this trauma happened to me. Otherwise, most of the time we are stuck only just finding out why me or something. Thank you. That's it.